Hello and welcome back to the Finding Hope with Overcoming MS webinar series season 4. We are so pleased to bring you today's session with Veronique Gauthier-Simmons focusing on accessible movement for our Overcoming MS community. My name is Jake Connor and I am the Community Engagement Project Officer joining you from the UK. And in a moment, I will be welcoming Veronique to the virtual stage. But just before I do that, I want to run through a little bit of housekeeping to help keep the webinar running as smoothly as possible for you. So just to note that the session is being recorded and you will receive a link to access the recording next week. You'll also notice that because this is a Zoom webinar, that there is not an audio or video component for webinar participants. However, it is still an interactive session as you'll be able to ask a question using the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. And we also have some pre-submitted questions to go through as well. If you do experience any technical glitches, please do try leaving the webinar and re-entering using the link on your email. And for best results, we do recommend using a Chrome browser to access the webinar. We've also tried to make these webinar sessions even more accessible, and today we're going to be using closed captioning, which look like subtitles at the bottom of your screen. You can take these off by clicking on the CC Live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and selecting either Show Subtitles or Hide Subtitles. And when you exit the webinar in an hour's time, there will be a short survey that pops up automatically, and we would really appreciate your feedback on this as it does help us to shape future webinars and events going forward. That's all from me, and without further ado, I would love to welcome Veronique to the virtual stage.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Veronique, how are you?
I'm good, but I just found out that there will be captioning, so I'd like to see what it will look like with my French accent.
It will be completely fine. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar. I'll be back in a little bit for a short Q&A at the end, but for now I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. So I hope everyone can now see my screen. So thank you very much for joining me for this webinar about accessible movement. I'd like to focus on a couple of topics first. So I would like to recap why exercise is important in general and for us living with MS. But I don't want to spend too much time on this theoretical part. I want to then move on to setting our own goals, because I think that's really important to set realistic goals and to focus on what we personally want to achieve and what we need, because we are all different, we all have different issues, and we all have different lifestyles and so on. And then we'll look at how to make exercise more accessible. And we'll play around with a couple of ideas. Then I will stop sharing my screen and we'll practice. So you were asked to have, if possible, 2 chairs, a folded towel and a strap or a belt. But the main thing is to have a chair. If you don't have the rest, don't worry. And then we'll come back to the presentation and look at staying motivated, which is, after all, really the most important thing. We might know what we need to do, but to keep doing it is really essential. And I'll keep time at the end for questions. So let's start with the benefits of exercise in general. So I put on this slide a few, the main benefits. And as we go through them, really think for yourself which ones resonate with you. What are you really interested in? So we know that exercise stimulates the formation of neurons. and also strengthens the connection between neurons. And it reduces brain shrinkage. Everybody, when we are getting wiser and wiser, the brain shrinks a little bit, and even more for people with MS. So reducing brain shrinkage for me, for instance, that's a key motivator. In general, exercise improves cognition, decision-making, problem-solving. It improves coordination. It supports immunity, strengthens the joints, improves the respiratory system, reduces cholesterol and blood pressure, and prevents cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers. So have a look, and based on your family history, your where you are at now, what are the elements that really resonate with you? For instance, I've got history in my family of cardiovascular disease and cancer, and that's also an aspect that I want to keep in mind when I'm exercising, when I need motivation. Yeah? And as people with MS, we are also benefiting from exercise in relation to some of our symptoms. So research has shown that exercise helps to improve sexual function, bowel and bladder function. It lowers the risk of depression, and we know that people with MS have a higher tendency to suffer from depression. So that's another really important benefit. In general, the quality of life is better when we exercise. Research has shown that exercise is associated with less disability and fewer relapses, so a reduced relapse rate. It improves the mood, increases the energy level, improves walking speed, and increase muscle strength. So these are the general benefits. Obviously, as I said, we are all different, we all have limitations, and the benefits will vary as well, depending on where we are at and what type of exercise we do. Something that I'd like to share with you, I don't know if you've read The Joy of Movement by Kelly McGonigal. I got the book a couple of years ago and I'm reading it for the third time. It's a beautiful book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's written in a lovely style. She gives loads of easy tips, and because I read it already 2.5 times, I highlighted so many passages on my Kindle. I could share probably the whole book, but I decided only to share 2 today. And this one really resonates with me because that's something that I often tell my yoga students. I always say, it's not just about the movements that you do, it's about your intention, what you want to focus on. And Kelly McGonigal says it much better than me. So I'm going to read out these 3 sentences or paragraphs. When you move with grace, your brain perceives the elongation of your limbs and the fluidity of your steps and realizes, I am graceful. When you move with power, your brain encodes the explosive contraction of muscles, senses the speed of the action, and understands, I am powerful. When you move in a way that requires strength, your brain senses the resistance in your muscles and the force on your tendons and concludes, I am strong. And this is something that you can easily try out, just sitting on your chair with the feet flat on the floor. Lengthen the crown of the head, close your eyes, and just relax. Just relax. Every muscle in your body that you can relax, let it go. and you are sending the message to your brain, I am relaxed. Now, place your hands on your thighs, on your quads, and push your feet into the ground. Push your feet into the ground and feel the strength in your legs. If you can't feel the strength in your legs, or if that is challenging for you, bring your hands in front of your heart and push your hands together. Feel the strength in your arms. And now you are sending the message to your brain that you are strong, you are getting stronger. So I think it's important to think about the movements that you do, but also what is your mindset, what you want to achieve. Do you want to get more flexible, more relaxed? Do you want to get stronger? So keep in mind that the mind is important. Yeah. So what is your goal? And I think it's important to spend a little bit of time on your own, probably after this webinar, just to think, what do I want to achieve? Personally, if I'm told, oh, you should do that, it's good for you, I'll say, okay, right, it's good for me, but it's not enough. It's not enough to keep me motivated. But if I have a more precise goal, and I see that this will help me to reach my goal, I'll stay motivated and I will do it. So you probably have heard of this framework for goal setting called SMART. A goal should be specific. So rather than to say, I want to walk faster, maybe you could say, I want to walk for 100 meters in that amount of time, or to do that many steps per minute. Yeah. Or instead of saying, I want to have a stronger core, then maybe I can do 10 or 20 sit-ups or something like that. Yeah. So that makes it more measurable as well. This is the second aspect. As regard the third point, a goal should be achievable. Yeah. I wish I could fly, but I don't think I will ever be able to do that without a plane. So it has to be achievable. And sometimes it's useful to ask, your doctor or MS nurse or friends, partners, just do they think it is achievable? Because sometimes we're not always aware of what we can or cannot do or shouldn't do. Relevant. So if you want to exercise to improve living with MS, then make sure that what you are doing is relevant and will help you to achieve what you want to do. And time bound. I find it useful. I love ticking. I love to have a program and saying, okay, next week I'll do this, and then to tick, and have a deadline. I think it helps most people, but you might not be one of them. But usually having a time bound that is not too far ahead helps. So instead of saying, for instance, I want to run a 5K before the end of the year, which is still fairly far away, then maybe break it down and I want to run 1K in 2 months. Yeah, and focus on this one first, and then you can move on to the next one. Yeah. So being clear on your goals, the goals that are important for you, that are achievable, then we can look at exercising and moving. So the focus of this webinar is try and find exercises or movement that are accessible. So the difference between exercise and movement, just because I use both terms at the moment, but exercise is something that is more structured with a specific aim, and movement is more general, like physical activity. And this actually can be applied to both. But I like to adopt the same approach for exercise as for goal setting. And I'd like to give the example of running. So running is great. It helps to improve the lung function. It strengthens the joints and the bones, the muscles. It helps to relax. It helps to connect with nature if you run outside, obviously. So these are loads of wonderful benefits. But if you cannot run, why not break it down and look at all these benefits and think about what can I do to have the same benefits, but instead of having all in one, I'll just do separately. Yeah, we have a tendency, I think, to want to do something that is really powerful and bring all the benefit at once, and we save time, we save energy. But I think it's also nice to do things slowly, and that allows us to, to do something for a few minutes here in the morning, and then maybe later during the day, so that we can balance our energy level a little bit better. Yeah. So instead of running to improve your lung capacity, you could do some breathing exercise. And we're going to do some later on in the practice. But you can really just sitting on a chair whenever you want during the day, you can do some breathing exercise and know that you are improving your lung capacity, the way the oxygen is delivered to all the cells in your body. And that is accessible to anyone. You can really, as long as you live, you can do breathing exercises. So it cannot be more accessible than breathing. So running also strengthens the joints, the bones, the muscles. And you can practice a lot of exercises to strengthen your bones, joints, and muscles, sitting on a chair or using your body weight instead of machines in the gym. So you just need to find the right movements for you, but you can really strengthen the joints, the bones, and the muscles, and in a softer way, because running might be quite hard for the body. Yeah, so it's even better. Instead of running to relax, you can also just do relaxing exercises, and you can sit outside if the weather is good. You can listen to soft music or music that you enjoy. You can do some yoga. You can do some Tai Chi, Qigong, visualization. There are loads of options. And finally, another benefit of running is that it helps to connect with nature when we run outside. And we know that it's really helpful. Well, you can just be outdoor, and you could combine, for instance, you can do some strengthening for your muscles and the joints sitting outside in your garden. Okay, maybe with an umbrella if the weather is bad, but you can still do it outside, or open your window, look outside. So there are loads of ways where we can replace one activity and just take out the benefits and focus on doing one at a time. The other way to make exercise more accessible, and I think that's something that maybe more people are familiar with, is to adapt the exercise. So the examples are, there are so many different examples. So instead of cycling with a bicycle outside, if your balance is not great, you can use a gym bike, so a static bike. Yeah, that's an adaptation. Or instead of doing some marching, like in aerobics, you can march on the chair. Yeah. So using a chair is one of the, I think, the best way to adapt exercise if you've got balance issues. Yeah. Because then you are safe, and that safety is the first thing you need to look at. You could also do exercises on a mat on the floor and focus on sitting exercises. And you can do loads of exercises sitting or lying down on the floor. Yeah, loads of options. You can, instead of sitting on the chair, stand beside the chair or beside the wall. And as I said before, you can use your body weight instead of squeezing, a weight. You can squeeze a towel. You can use whatever you've got at home, or use, I've got a big TheraBand. That is actually really resistant, and you can use that instead of going to the gym and using the machines. You can use little bottles of water filled with water or sand instead of weight, and you can just use whatever you've got around you. The idea is to be just creative and focus on what you want to achieve. You want to get stronger, and if your intention is to get stronger, do the movement with this in mind. So let's now take some time to practice. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'm going to move back a little bit so that you can see me better. I think that should be fine. Maybe a little bit more for my legs. Great. Might not see the top of my head, but it's okay. Good. And so I'm going to go through a little sequence, and don't worry about taking notes. You'll have the handout after this webinar, so you can see if you want to repeat any of these movements, then you can do that. Yeah. So there are basically 20 different things that you can do on a chair or beside a chair. You don't have to do them all. Yeah, you can just pick. Again, think, what do I want to do? I pick one or two exercises, and then tomorrow I'll do these other two, or I'll repeat them and do them longer. But first, we're going to do some breathing, because that is, for me, the most accessible activity that you can do. And I want to show you, I hope I will convince you, that with breathing, you can improve your fitness, your cardio fitness, and you can work your abs as well. So we're going to do a few rounds of a breathing technique that is called bellows breathing. So, the bellows to kind of activate the fire in a fireplace. Think about that when you do this breathing, and place one hand on your belly. And we're going to inhale and exhale quite strongly through the nose. If for any reason that feels really hard for you, use your mouth instead. So ideally through the nose. If you can't, then use your mouth. And as we inhale, we want to expand the belly quite strongly. And as we exhale, pull the belly in. So don't be shy, show your belly. Probably doesn't sound very nice when I breathe like this, but inhale out, exhale in, out and in, out and in, out and in. And if that's okay with you, go a little bit quicker, out, in. Out, in. And when you breathe in, you really squeeze your belly, squeeze your navel towards the spine. Out, in, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze each time you exhale. And if you repeat that regularly, you will notice your core, but it also helps you to breathe better because you are using the diaphragm to breathe in and out. And if you find, that's too easy, then add the arms. Yeah. And the key is to bring the arms up, and when you exhale and pull your belly in, draw the arms down. If you find this movement quite challenging, maybe your shoulders are tender, try and bring the arms forward, doing more like a rowing action. And if you want to get even stronger, then you can use some weight, some bottles, some little weights. The focus is on the belly, though. So keep repeating these, and you will feel it is a cardiovascular exercise, sorry. You'll get warmer, you'll get more energy, and you'll breathe better, and your core will get stronger. Yeah. Another one that is a little bit less challenging and focuses more on really squeezing the belly in is called breath of fire. And this time we only focus on exhaling through the nose. So the inhale is normal, but the exhale is forceful through the nose, and we squeeze the belly. Really squeezing, and you can do 20 of these and then relax, do another 20 and then relax. And to make it even stronger, bring the arms up and keep the arms up. So these are 2 breathing exercises that can make a difference if you do them regularly. So next we're going to focus on the shoulders, and that's one part of the body where I notice a lot of people with or without MS tend to lose range of motion in the shoulders, just with age, because we don't use the movement of the arms. So if you've got MS, it might be a different reason where the range of motion is limited, but it can also be just because we are not using the arms. We are not really very often during the day lifting the arm. We might do when we're in school as young kids, but we don't very often do this movement. And I find that really nice to do some movements for the shoulders regularly. One simple exercise is to inhale, bring the arms overhead, exhale, bring the arms down, palms facing down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Okay, if you want to improve your flexibility and range of motion, just think that you are more flexible, younger. If you want to strengthen, use some little weights and lift. I am strong. Yeah. And you will notice that the same movement feels quite different. And even if you don't have weights, squeeze, make fists and squeeze your fingers. Just by creating tension in your body like this, you increase the resistance and you increase the strengthening aspect of it. Next movement, still for the range of motion in the shoulders. Bring your fingertips on your shoulders. If you're quite tight in the shoulders, just circle the elbows like this. Yeah. And then see if you can make the circles bigger and bigger, until maybe the elbows come and touch and you lift the elbows. Be careful not to move the head, so you want the head to stay in line with the spine and to sit tall. And then change direction. And then release. Let's move now to the spine. If you are doing yoga, you might have heard before that you are as young as your spine is flexible. So one simple way to keep your spine young and healthy is hands on the knees and just circle the upper body. So you need to sit a little bit in front of your chair, like this, and then the other way around. Let's move to the legs. So sitting, not touching the back of your seat, but a little bit forward. Simply hold the side of your chair and lift one foot. So I might turn to the side so it will be easier for you to see. So just lift and lower. One side and then the other side. And it is harder than it might look. So that's where you could adapt with a TheraBand or any soft belt will do. And you place the band under your foot. And if the movement that is the hardest is to lift the leg, then use your arms to lift and then push and then bend and lower. So you lift, basically your upper arm is lifting the leg and then you extend and lower. And you can do that changing side after a few repetitions, or you can alternate left, right, as you prefer. Still working on the legs. Another option, if your legs are stronger, is to inhale and lift the arms and one knee up. Exhale down. Inhale, left leg up and knee down. Inhale, right and down. And keep alternating like this. Let's do two more. So this exercise is not for everyone. If you find it difficult to lift the leg, so do the previous one instead, using a band to support your leg and lift. Yeah. So that is a possibility as well, to make it more accessible. But you are still moving your legs and moving your joints. Still on the chair, bring your legs apart. Yeah. So the knees are over the ankles. And for this one, we're going to place the hands behind the head. Inhale, and as you exhale, draw the elbow towards the knee. Inhale back. Exhale to the other side and back. And change. Let's do one more. And then you release. There are really loads of options to move on the chair, but I like to mix a little bit different movements and to have an overall general practice. And then bring your knees together. So it's nice as well just to rest forward for a moment in between. So drawing your chest towards your knees and let your arms hang loose. So the hands are coming to the floor. Here, one way to make it more accessible is to use your folded towel, or you can use a cushion, a pillow, and to place it under your chest. So it's a little bit easier. And it feels really nice in the lower back. And then slowly come up. So far we've focused more on range of motion, flexibility, releasing the upper body. Let's look at strengthening the legs, because I know that's something that a lot of us want to do or would benefit from. So we'll start with the easier version of this pose. So sitting, make sure that there's a bit of space between your back and the back of the chair, so you're sitting in the middle of the chair. Place your feet hip width apart, so the knees are directly above the ankles. And we'll do what we did earlier. So hands on the knees, lean slightly forward and push your feet into the ground. Push the feet into the ground. You might want to lift your toes. If you don't feel the strengthening, lift your toes. If you can't really feel a lot of strengthening, visualize your muscles getting stronger, contracting. And then if you want, bring your arms up. So you're also strengthening your back muscles. And then release. So that is the, it's difficult, but it's not too challenging for your balance. Next one is a little bit more challenging because we are going to lift off the chair. So it's better to have the feet closer to the chair. So the knees are a little bit forward, not directly above the ankles. You can keep your hands on the knees first, lean forward, and now push to lift. And you want to hover, yeah, not to completely straighten your legs. So you feel the strengthening in the legs, and the same, bring your arms overhead. And that is quite challenging. And then lower down, good. And you can start with holding the pose just briefly, and you can build up and repeat more often or stay longer in the pose. And another one that I would like to do, I just need to change the setting. So holding the chair or beside a wall, just march, lift the knee and then the other knee. Sorry, I need to adjust the camera. So lifting, lowering, lifting, lowering. This is also a nice exercise to do. Good. And if you want to strengthen your legs, but your balance is not great, place your hands on the chair in front of you and slowly bend your legs. Smile, makes it easier. And lift again. And repeat. So little squats. Good. Another exercise in the handout is to stand beside your chair. So my left hand is on the top of the chair. I'm going to separate my feet so my feet are hip width apart. Lift the right arm and bring the right arm overhead as I lean a little bit towards the chair. And that feels good after strengthening, to stretch a little bit. So try to include some stretching as well as strengthening. And the other side. And now one of my favorite, the downward facing dog with a chair. So standing in front of the chair, place your hands flat on the chair and walk back. And you can keep your legs as bent as you need. Sorry, I need to put the camera again. So bend your legs as much as you need and release your head between your arms. That feels so good for the back. If this is not an option for you, you can sit in front of another chair, and place your hands on the chair opposite you and do the same. So you don't have to stand, you can sit and just stretch your back, release tension. And this is another example where you can change the impact of the exercise with your intention. So if you lean forward and just think, oh, I'm stretching, stretching, stretching and releasing, that feels like stretching and releasing. But if you place your hands flat on the chair and push your hands into the chair, push, and feel the strengthening. And if you want to strengthen your legs as well as the upper body, just place the hands flat on the chair, the feet flat on the floor, push your hands down, push your feet into the ground, and feel the strengthening in your body. It really is quite intense. And you hold for a few seconds and then you release. Good. I'll show you quickly the last few ones. So when you are in this pose, the downward facing dog, you can also step one foot forward and bend the front leg, coming into a high lunge. If that feels fine, if you are safe, bring your hands on your knee. If you feel really strong, bring your arms up. And you will feel your legs, your quads getting really strong. And you can hold just for 3 breaths, and then you change and change side and repeat another time. Or what you could do is with your hands on the chair, focus and lift one leg. And lower down. That will target your glutes and the back of the legs. And if you want to challenge yourself even more and to challenge your balance, place the left hand in the middle of the chair, lift the right leg and the right arm. And this is really challenging. Or lift the left leg and the right arm. There's so many options, so many ways you can play around to move and get your exercise goals. Another option, but please make sure that you are really safe, that your chair doesn't move, is to do a high plank. So your hands are flat on the chair and you are on the tip of the toes with the body in a straight line. I can feel my core, and that is a plank. Good. To release, you can come and do some cat and cows with the hands on the chair, rounding the back, curving the spine. Good. And the last movement that I want to share, just because I think it feels so good. So when you are sitting, inhale, and as you exhale, twist to the side. So holding the back of the chair with the right arm when you twist to the right, left hand is around the right knee. Then back to center and twist to the other side. And back to center. So these were just a few ideas, things that you can do to make sure that you get your exercise. And most of them we can do quite easily. We can do a couple of them throughout the day. Like, it doesn't have to be within a 30-minute setting. You can decide, oh, I'm going to do the downward facing dog whenever I get off my chair, or I'm going to do a little bit of squatting before dinner. The key, I think, is not to decide what to do. The key is to stay motivated. I read a couple of really lovely books about dopamine recently, and in one of them, it said that researchers found that on average, it takes about 4 sessions a week for about 6 weeks before you feel, the exercise high, the runner's high, or to feel the release of dopamine and you feel good. It's not going to happen straight away. Most of the time, you need to do it for a while before you feel that you need to keep doing it. So one of your objectives could be, I will keep going for 6 weeks to get to find out what it feels like to have some dopamine release. The author I mentioned earlier, Kelly McGonigal, suggests something really nice is to add music to your practice. Yeah. So choose your favorite music and listen to it while you exercise. So you will associate exercising with pleasure. I do that when I go running. I've got my playlist, and then it just combines together to make me feel good. Yeah. Another useful thing to do is to ask friends or to join a club, because you want to feel good, and it's a social opportunity, and it doesn't have to be live, it could be on Zoom, but just to see the same people again and to get to build friendship is a nice benefit as well. And something else you can try is to journal or to keep track. If you've got a watch that connects to your whatever Garmin app, then you can follow some data. I got really big into my VO2 max, and I wanted to see, because it tells me, oh, you are biologically only that young, that old. And I'm like, oh, I'm going 30 now, great. Oh, I'm going 25. Oh, I'm going 21. Okay, I know that's probably ego motivating me, but it doesn't matter. You can just, if you see that you improve some data, then it keeps motivating you. So I think for this, the end justifies the mean. So the second quote from The Joy of Movement, and I think that's really the key thing to remember. Anything that keeps you moving and increase your heart rate is enough to trigger nature's reward for not giving up. There is no objective measure of performance you must achieve, no pace or distance you need to reach that determines whether you experience an exercise-induced euphoria. You just have to do something that is moderately difficult for you and stick with it for at least 20 minutes. That because the runner's high isn't a running high, it's a persistent high. So keep doing it. Start and keep doing it. It will come where you feel, oh, I'm just feeling better and I want to continue. And be playful, be creative with making movement more accessible. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation. And I think we can now have questions. Jake, if there are any questions.
Brilliant. Hi, Veronique. Thank you so much for that session. It was brilliant. I think what's really useful is when you mentioned about breaking it down into sort of small, achievable targets to help with motivation. I think it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think we want to have too often everything at once. We want the big things, whereas it can be really nice to have smaller, or not smaller, but to spread them throughout the days and just do one thing at a time. Focus on strengthening your legs, yeah. And then next do the strengthening of your upper body. You don't have to do everything at once.
Yeah, definitely, 100% agree. So we've just got over about 5 minutes left, so I was thinking maybe we could go through a few of the questions that we've had pre-submitted. So the first one that somebody's asked is, to what extent is yoga and similar movements at home helpful for building our bone strength and preventing osteoporosis?
To strengthen the bones, what you need to do is to put moderate pressure on your bones. So anything where you, for instance, this movement where you press your hands together will help to strengthen the wrists. Or when you are in cat and cow, again, think, I want to press my hands into the ground. So it's your intention there that will make the difference. When you are doing the warrior pose, anchored the feet into the ground, and that will be more strengthening. So definitely that you don't need to push hard. You just need to gently press on the bones to have an impact. Yeah.
So a small amount of pressure.
Yeah, that works perfectly fine. Yeah.
Brilliant. So the next question that we've got is, you've covered this slightly today, but this person has said, where should I start when trying to make exercise part of my daily/weekly routine? I suppose it's all about in those little steps.
Yeah, I would definitely start thinking, what do I want to do? Because starting with exercise is far too big. It's not going to help you. But okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to just to improve your walking, or do you want to strengthen the body? And then try to narrow it down and say, okay, what can I do over the next 6 weeks to build that up? So, and then if you're a more sociable person, ask your friends or join a club. There are different techniques as well. There's, I always get mixed up with the title of the book, but it's about changing your habits. It's really getting new habits, and you can associate something that you do regularly throughout the day with movement. So for instance, you could say, each time I make a cup of tea, I'm going to do 3 gentle squats. Or each time I get up from my desk, I will use a TheraBand and do 3 of these. So that at the end of the day, you realize, oh, wow, I've actually done 50 squats today. Yeah. That is useful as well.
I think, that's a really good sort of analogy, an example even, with, as you say, making a cup of tea, just fitting it into little parts of your day. It does build up over time.
Yeah, don't be too demanding with yourself. You don't have to do straight away 30 minutes 4 times a week. You don't have to run a marathon. You can just add a little bit every day.
Yeah, brilliant. The next question is, how can I get my family involved? I know you've spoken a little bit about introducing friends and family.
I think try to find out what they enjoy doing. I mean, depends as well. If they are young children, then going for walks and discovering places will probably help. Usually, if they are young children, they love exercising and love doing yoga or doing Pilates or just playing. Depends. It's probably a little bit harder if they are, difficult teenagers who don't want to do anything with their parents. That might be harder. I think it really depends. Hard to say in general, but
yeah. I suppose it's just trying to find out, like you say, something that you enjoy and what they might enjoy as well.
And to try to make it into a routine, trying to make it into Sunday, that's what we do after lunch, or and then you can always, okay, after this, then you will have a reward. Might help.
Yeah, definitely. So what will probably be our final question of today's webinar? So this person has said, if a position feels uncomfortable, how do I know how far to push myself, or should I try something else?
Yeah. So one key question is, why does it feel uncomfortable? Yeah. There is, so you can try, depends on how flexible you are, but if you lean forward and you might go, okay, I cannot go any further because I feel that my muscles don't allow it. I feel that it's stretching too much. Yeah. That actually is okay. You can still stay and go a little bit deeper because you can stretch your muscles. Yeah. If you feel there's a sharp pain, nerve pain, or anything come out, you should never ever feel this kind of pain, sharp nervous pain. And sometimes you can go forward and you realize, oh, I can't go any further because it doesn't go any further. I don't have any pain or anything, but it's the shape of your bones, and that we see a lot in yoga is especially the hips, your bones are shaped one way and you won't go any further. You can try and try and try, but you're not going to change the shape of your bones that easily. So if it feels like you can stretch, you can keep doing it if you want to get more flexible. But sharp pain, no. And if you feel it's just bones against bones, then that's as far as you can go.
Yeah. So it's all about, I suppose, individuals' own ability, really, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much today for agreeing to run this session. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm sure our viewers have really enjoyed it as well. And I'm sure we'll welcome you back. You're not a stranger to overcoming MS. I'm sure we'll welcome you back on another webinar in the future.
It will always be my pleasure. And please, if anybody has any question, don't hesitate to write to Overcoming MS, and I'll be happy to answer questions anytime. And I wish you a wonderful day and keep moving.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Veronique. I'll just finish with some final closing remarks now. Thank you.
Why?
So I just want to say a big thanks to Veronique for today's session. Hopefully you've all really enjoyed the webinar, and just as a reminder, you will receive a link to the recording via Zoom next week. I'd also like to say a big thank you to my colleagues Liz and Katie, who have been supporting me in the background with all of your questions. And just to let you know, we will be back next month on the 16th of May at 12 p.m. UK time, and that will be for a mindfulness session with Phil starting. And you can visit our events page on the website to register for that session shortly. I think all that's left for me to say is a big thank you for everyone joining, and I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.